Why didn't Anthony Joshua read the messages that might have saved his life? That's not just a rhetorical question. That's the razor-sharp line investigators are dancing on, trying to uncover whether what happened on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway was a tragic accident or the final act of a much darker story. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Because inside that quiet hotel room on a humid morning in Magong, Nigeria, something was left behind. Something that raised eyebrows, whispered panic, and eventually set off alarm bells across both national and international security circles. A tablet, a phone, and 7 unread WhatsApp messages. Not spam, not random forwards from fans or friends. These were urgent warnings from people close to him, people who knew something was wrong, people who were trying, desperately, to stop him from getting into that car. He never replied to any of them. And by the time the Lexus SUV smashed into the back of a stationary truck, it was too late. 2 people were already dead, and Anthony Joshua, world-renowned heavyweight boxing champion, was barely conscious, shirtless, bleeding, slumped in a broken seat surrounded by shattered glass and twisted metal. How did this happen? And more importantly, why? Let's rewind. Because if we're going to unpack the chaos of that crash and truly understand the weight of what was found in that hotel room, then we need to start with the quiet before the storm. And trust me, what we're about to reveal, it's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about that day. Let's dive in. It was supposed to be a low-profile trip. Anthony Joshua, 36 years old, born in Watford to Nigerian parents, had returned to the motherland for what insiders said was a mix of personal visits and low-key business meetings. No public fanfare, no grand arrival, no press conference. Just Joshua, a few trusted aides, his private security detail, and a discreet reservation at a mid-range, high-security hotel tucked away in Magong, Ogun State. That region, just outside the chaos of Lagos, has a reputation for being both strategic and unpredictable. Safe one minute, tense the next. Especially on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, a major artery that's seen its fair share of accidents, hijackings, and, yes, government cover-ups. But no one expected this. On the night before the crash, Joshua reportedly had a late dinner with 2 guests, names not yet confirmed, and turned in early. Hotel staff say he was polite but quiet, focused. Not the charming, camera-ready athlete the world's used to seeing. Was he stressed? Was he suspicious? Or was he simply tired? No one knows for sure. But what we do know, confirmed by multiple sources close to the investigation, is that by 10:43 p.m., Joshua's personal phone and tablet were both plugged in beside the bed, charging. Nothing unusual. But here's where it gets strange. By 5:17 a.m., a flurry of messages began to come in. 7 in total. All via WhatsApp. All from verified contacts. And all left unread. The first came from a member of his private security team. The message was simple, cryptic. Don't leave the hotel today. There's movement on the expressway. Something's off. 5 minutes later, another message, this time from a longtime friend in Lagos. AJ bro, call me ASAP. Not a good day to be on that road. Heard chatter. Stay put. Then came another, and another, each one adding to the sense of urgency. A strange sense of coordinated concern from people in different circles, all pointing to the same warning. Don't leave the hotel. Don't take that route. Something is happening. But for reasons no one can quite explain, Joshua never responded. Not a single word. And by 10:50 a.m., CCTV captured him walking out of his room with a backpack slung over one shoulder, his phone in hand. The messages were there, but he didn't read them. Why? That's the first mystery. Now let's talk about the crash. It happened shortly after 11 a.m. A Lexus SUV, reportedly traveling over the legal speed limit, attempted to overtake another vehicle when it swerved violently and smashed into the rear of a stationary truck parked on the side of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The impact was brutal. The front of the Lexus was crumpled like paper. The windshield shattered. Shards of glass sprayed across the asphalt like shrapnel. Inside the vehicle, 5 men. Among them, Anthony Joshua, seated behind the driver. 2 passengers died instantly. The rest were rushed to the hospital. Online footage, leaked just hours later, showed Joshua shirtless, bloodied, and visibly shaken, sitting in the wreck, disoriented, barely able to speak. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't panicking. He looked haunted, like something had snapped inside him. Now here's where things start to really twist. That vehicle? Part of a two-car convoy. The second vehicle, believed to be carrying members of his security team, stopped just seconds after the crash. But by the time police arrived, that vehicle had already left the scene. No witnesses, no explanation, just silence. What were they running from? And now we return to the hotel room. Because as authorities began combing through the wreckage, interviewing witnesses, and tracing Joshua's last known movements, they went back to square one. His room. It hadn't been touched since he left that morning. Clothes folded, toothbrush unused. His tablet? Still plugged in. Phone. On silent, under the pillow. Both devices fully charged. Both locked. But when tech forensics specialists got access, they saw the messages, the timestamps, the unread notifications, all pointing to one thing. Someone, or multiple people, knew something was going to happen that morning, and they tried to stop it. But it was too late. Or was it? Because here's the thing. As investigators dug deeper, they noticed inconsistencies in the hotel's log system. A digital record of card key swipes showed that between 2 o'clock and 3 a.m., someone attempted to access Joshua's room. Twice. Failed both times. No name. No security camera footage of the hallway from that exact time. The feed? Glitched. Corrupted, according to hotel management. Convenient, right? So what does that tell us? That someone may have tried to reach Joshua or his devices long before the crash. To warn him? To plant something? Or to make sure he didn't read those messages? Let that sit for a moment. Because if that's true, if someone actively prevented him from seeing those messages, then this story isn't just about a crash. It's about a conspiracy, a coordinated effort to silence, harm, or control one of the most powerful athletes in the world on his home soil. The final piece of this disturbing introduction? Joshua's behavior after the crash. In newly released footage, he's seen sitting in the front seat of another vehicle, clutching his left arm, speaking to officials. But listen closely. He keeps repeating one sentence, over and over, almost like he's trying to convince himself. I shouldn't have left. I shouldn't have left. He doesn't say where. He doesn't say who. Just that haunting, broken mantra. And now, armed with the evidence, the messages, and the anomalies surrounding this case, we have to ask, what did Anthony Joshua walk into that morning? Was it truly just a tragic accident? Or something else entirely? Because what comes next in this investigation will blow the lid off everything. And it all begins with one terrifying detail. The moment a hotel staffer told investigators what they saw in the hallway just before sunrise. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What exactly did that hotel staffer see in the hallway just before sunrise? It's a question that's kept investigators awake at night. Because what they described, it wasn't just strange. It was chilling, and it cracked this case wide open. Let's rewind to just before dawn, hours before Anthony Joshua would step into the SUV that nearly cost him his life. The hotel was quiet. Too quiet, according to the night manager. No room service orders. No late-night arrivals. Not even the usual humming of hallway vacuum cleaners. Just silence. That eerie, pulsing silence you only notice when something feels off. And then it happened. At exactly 4:43 a.m., the front desk received an unusual request. A man in a black hoodie, face partially obscured by a surgical mask, approached calmly and said he needed a fresh towel delivered to room 407. That's Joshua's room. But here's the thing. Joshua hadn't requested anything. He was reportedly asleep, and no one else was listed as staying in the room with him. So who was the towel for? The receptionist hesitated, then called up housekeeping. Enter Gloria Adebayo, a 26-year-old part-time cleaner working her third night shift in a row. She took the towel. She walked to the elevator. She pressed the button. And when the doors opened on the 4th floor, she froze. Not because of fear, but because of instinct. There, at the end of the hallway, 2 men stood outside room 407. Both wore black. Both motionless. One of them appeared to be fiddling with the room's electronic keypad. Unsuccessfully. The other? He was facing the hallway camera, staring directly into the lens. Except, when Gloria later asked to view that footage, the hotel's head of security told her it had been erased. Corrupted data. Technical glitch. Nothing to worry about, they said. But Gloria was worried. She stepped back into the elevator and rode it back down, without delivering the towel. Minutes later, she quietly logged the incident in the staff activity report and marked it unconfirmed guest access attempt. That entry would go unnoticed until days after the crash. That's when investigators read it and realized this wasn't just another freak accident on a Nigerian highway. Something had been set in motion long before the SUV ever left the hotel parking lot. Let's talk about timelines. Because when things don't add up, you need to track every minute. Here's what we know. 4:43 a.m. Unknown man requests towel for Joshua's room. 4:52 a.m. Housekeeper witnesses two men outside room. 4:07. 5:17 a.m. First WhatsApp warning message arrives on Joshua's phone. 5:24 a.m. Second message. Then a third. 6:11 a.m. Hotel Wi-Fi log shows Joshua's tablet briefly connects to the network. 6:13 a.m. Connection drops. 7:02 a.m. Room service delivers light breakfast. Oats, banana, black coffee. 7:08 a.m. Joshua signs receipt. Looks groggy but calm. 10:50 a.m. CCTV captures Joshua exiting hotel with backpack and phone. 11:05 a.m. The crash. What happened in those missing hours? And why did no one see Joshua respond to the messages? Here's where it gets stranger. One of the security investigators, who's chosen to remain anonymous, claims that Joshua's phone should have displayed a lock screen notification count. You know the ones, those little numbers showing unread messages. But when the forensic team powered it on, nothing. No lock screen previews. No alerts. As if the messages had been suppressed, manually muted, or remotely wiped. They're still trying to figure that out. But one theory is especially disturbing. That someone may have used a jammer device or network suppressor near the hotel, disrupting incoming data while keeping the phone active. Military-grade tech. Rare. Illegal. But not impossible to get in West Africa if you know the right people. So the question becomes, did someone want Joshua off that network? Off-grid. And vulnerable. Now let's shift perspective. Imagine being Anthony Joshua that morning. You wake up in your home country. You've kept your visit private. No press. No noise. You're here for meetings, reconnections, maybe even to scout locations for a new training facility. That's the version we're told. But you feel something. A pressure in your chest. A gnawing unease. You shake it off, check your phone. Nothing urgent. You shower. Dress. Eat. You step into the hallway alone. You don't see the two men from hours earlier. But maybe, just maybe, you sense something's off. And then, you get in the SUV. Here's what makes this story so haunting. The SUV Joshua rode in that morning, dark blue Lexus LX 570, was reportedly not the original vehicle assigned to him. His actual transport was undergoing last-minute repairs, according to the driver. So the replacement car was rented from a private firm just outside Lagos. No branding. No traceable ownership. Just a nondescript SUV. But when crash investigators opened the glove compartment, they found something strange. A folded map of Lagos State, marked in red ink with a single circle. The exact location of the accident. You read that correctly. Someone had circled the crash site on a printed map inside the SUV before the crash even happened. Let that sink in. How does something like that happen unless someone expected, maybe even planned, the crash? Authorities downplayed the detail, called it coincidence. But investigators with deeper access are not convinced. Because there's more. Beneath the front passenger seat was a burner phone. No SIM card. Battery removed. Completely dead. Why was it there? Who had used it? No fingerprints. No data. Just a ghost device left behind, like a calling card with no number. And then there's the driver. His name is being withheld, but here's what we know. He's 39. Former logistics contractor. Clean record, on paper. But 1 year ago, he was arrested for illegal convoy participation during a political rally in Ogun State. He was released without charge. Now, in his official statement post-crash, he claims he lost control of the vehicle while attempting to overtake a slower car. That part matches the eyewitness account. But when asked why he chose that exact route, he stumbled, said it was standard. But GPS logs pulled from his phone show he deviated from the planned course roughly 14 minutes before the crash. He took a detour. A subtle one, but significant. He claims it was to avoid traffic. But here's the kicker. That detour? It led directly to the spot where the truck was parked. The stationary truck that had no hazard lights, no warning cones, and whose driver wasn't even inside. Police later found him at a roadside bar, 2 kilometers away. He said he stepped away for lunch. At 10:30 in the morning? Right. And now that truck is gone, towed, impounded, and quietly removed from the official incident report. Almost like someone didn't want it investigated too closely. Let's step back. Are you seeing the pattern? Because if you're feeling the same goosebumps we are, good. Something doesn't fit. Too many coincidences. Too many random details that paint a much darker picture. A towel request that wasn't real. 2 unknown men at his door. A jammed phone. A swapped vehicle. A map with a marked crash site. A burner phone. And a truck that was parked exactly where it needed to be for maximum damage. You don't have to be a detective to put this together. The question now isn't just why Anthony Joshua didn't read those messages. It's who made sure he couldn't. And what exactly were they trying to prevent or accomplish? Because if Joshua had seen those messages and stayed behind, if he had called someone, changed his route, delayed departure, would 2 people still be alive? Would Joshua still be nursing internal injuries? Or would he have become a target in another way entirely? Maybe this was the lesser of 2 evils. Maybe the crash was a warning. Or maybe it was just the beginning. Because what investigators uncovered in the hours after the wreck would raise the stakes far higher than anyone expected. And it all starts with one missing passenger. The 5th man no one seems to know or remember. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What if your phone was the only thing trying to save your life, and you never saw it? It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? In a world ruled by digital pings, alerts, and pop-ups, it's easy to assume that nothing important goes unseen. But that's the thing about critical moments. They don't scream. They whisper. And in Anthony Joshua's case, those whispers came in the form of 7 unread WhatsApp messages, each more urgent than the last. Each one sent by someone who was trying to stop what happened, someone who saw it coming. But somehow, none of them reached him. Or if they did, he didn't react. Why? Let's unpack the timeline, the senders, the content, and the chilling possibility that Joshua's silence wasn't just coincidence. It might have been sabotage. Let's start with the first message. 5:17 a.m. Sender, TF. That's a pseudonym we're using for one of Joshua's longtime team members. A man known for his discretion and deeply involved in the fighter's security planning. The message read, AJ, don't leave the hotel this morning. Red alert near your route. We're verifying, but looks active. We'll update. Simple, precise, but laced with urgency. This wasn't a casual suggestion. Red alert is an internal phrase used by Joshua's team, specifically to indicate potential security threats in the surrounding area. They don't use it lightly, and Joshua knew what it meant. But there was no response. Minutes later, another ping. 5:24 a.m. Sender, Chika W., a Nigerian journalist and longtime friend of Joshua's family, known for his deep connections with law enforcement and local networks. His message, just heard something. Stay off Lagos Ibadan Highway. No joke. Activity near Magung. Please bro, wait before heading out. Chika later told investigators he had no idea Joshua was even traveling that day. He had simply heard chatter on a police comms channel he monitors. A vehicle convoy had been spotted shadowing a known politician the night before. Unmarked. Untraceable. The implication? A rogue operation, or worse, an ambush squad. Again, no response. Third message. 5:30 a.m. This one came from someone closer. Yemasie, Joshua's cousin. She rarely sends him anything beyond birthday messages. But that morning, she had a dream. Not just a bad feeling. A specific nightmare. She told police it involved a crash, broken glass, and someone pulling Joshua from a vehicle. The details were eerily close to reality. Her message, AJ, please cancel your plans. Dream was too real. Don't go on that road today. Wait for evening. I'm scared. Again, no reply. No read receipt. No sign he ever saw it. Are you starting to see the pattern? People from different corners of Joshua's life, security, media, family, were all sounding the same silent alarm, and he never responded. So naturally, the question becomes, did he actually receive the messages? Let's talk about device forensics. After the crash, Joshua's phone and tablet were recovered from his hotel room. Both were powered off by the time they reached investigators, but the memory logs were intact. What they found was strange. First off, the WhatsApp app showed 7 message deliveries. Confirmed. Time-stamped. Account verified. But none of them had been opened. No blue ticks. No typing indicators. No drafts. Secondly, there were no push notifications recorded after 4:40 a.m. That's right. Even though the messages were sent after that time, the phone never recorded them as active notifications. You know when your phone lights up with an alert, even if you're not using it? That never happened here. Either the phone was in Do Not Disturb mode, or something tampered with how it received messages. This has led some experts to speculate that a remote access app, possibly installed through a cloned Wi-Fi login or malicious link, may have suppressed push alerts altogether. In other words, Joshua's phone technically received the messages, but it never showed them. Now pause. Think about that. His team thought they warned him, but he never saw the warnings. He stepped out into the morning blind. Then there's the tablet. Unlike his phone, the tablet actually logged a Wi-Fi connection at 6:11 a.m., but only for 2 minutes. Hotel logs show a device matching the tablet's MAC address connected briefly, then disconnected. Investigators believe this was an automatic reconnect when Joshua moved into the bathroom or another part of the room with stronger signal. Nothing suspicious until you realize the tablet was never touched that morning. It was still on the nightstand, plugged in. So how did it connect? Was it some kind of scheduled backup? A remote access tool? Or was someone in the room? Now combine that with what we learned in Chapter 1. 2 men were seen outside his door at 4:52 a.m., and someone attempted to access the room with an unverified card key twice. Could they have been after his devices? Could they have entered while he was in the shower or asleep? It's possible. Because remember, no signs of forced entry, no alarm trips, no camera footage, just the quiet reactivation of a device and 7 urgent messages that sat, unopened, like silent screams in a void. Now let's talk about message number 6. This one, it'll haunt you. Sent at 7:04 a.m., just after Joshua signed for breakfast. From BZT, a Lagos-based event planner who had been scheduled to meet with Joshua the next day. Her message: someone from your team just called to cancel tomorrow. Said you're unwell. Is that true? Are you okay? What? He hadn't canceled anything. In fact, investigators confirmed there were no outgoing calls or emails from Joshua or his assistant that morning. So who called BZ? And why lie? Was someone trying to clear his schedule? Make sure no one was expecting him? That way, if something did happen, it would take longer to raise alarms. It's a move straight out of the political sabotage playbook. Cut the trail. Mute the noise. Create the illusion of normalcy just long enough to vanish or strike. By 7:45 a.m., all 7 messages had been delivered. Still no reply. And by 8:30 a.m., his digital footprint went cold. No activity. No app usage. No camera activation. Nothing. It's as if his devices, and by extension, his awareness, went dark. Now let me ask you this. If someone wanted to intercept your plans, if they wanted to ensure you didn't get critical warnings, wouldn't suppressing your phone be the first step? Wouldn't flooding you with silence, just when the noise mattered most, be the perfect trap? Because that's exactly what it looks like happened here. Joshua's phone wasn't just quiet. It was muzzled, digitally gagged. And those 7 messages? The last chance he had to change the course of that morning. The last warnings he never saw. But there's one more twist. One more message. Message number 7. The final one. It came from an unknown number. No profile picture. No name. Sent at 9:08 a.m., just under 2 hours before the crash. Here's what it said. You have a choice. Turn around now, or pay the price. That's it. 6 words. No punctuation. No follow-up. And guess what? That number was untraceable. SIM registered in Sokoto. Deactivated minutes later. Burner phone. Disposable. Whoever sent it wanted to be invisible. But here's what makes it eerie. The language mirrors a previous threat Joshua received back in 2022 during a controversial sponsorship deal in Dubai. Same structure. Same tone. Same chilling brevity. Could it be the same person? Or the same group? Was this a warning? Or a countdown? We don't know. Yet. But investigators are combing through old messages, old threats, old beefs. Because if this was targeted, if Joshua was meant to be silenced, intimidated, or used as a warning to someone else, then this story is just beginning. And in the next chapter, we follow the trail of the route itself. Who planned it? Who altered it? And who gave the final green light for Joshua to take the very road that almost killed him? Because what investigators discovered about the change in direction will blow your mind. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Who decided Anthony Joshua should take that road? And why did they change the route at the last minute? Let's be real. A man like Anthony Joshua doesn't just jump into any car and drive off blindly. Every movement is planned, every route mapped, every risk calculated. He's not just a boxer. He's a global brand, a multi-million-dollar asset. And that kind of man, he moves with precision. Or at least, he's supposed to. So why, on the morning of the crash, did his convoy take a completely different route from what had been planned? Why was the route changed without his full security detail being informed? And who gave the order? Let's walk through the moment-by-moment decisions. Because when you break down the timeline, it becomes impossible to ignore. Somebody rerouted him, and they might have done it knowing exactly what would happen next. Let's go back to the original travel plan. According to itinerary logs obtained by local investigators, Joshua was scheduled to leave the hotel at 11:30 a.m. Not 10:50 a.m., not 11 a.m., 11:30 sharp. He was meant to be escorted by a two-car convoy. Vehicle 1, a Toyota Land Cruiser with 3 security personnel and 1 driver. Vehicle 2, primary a Lexus SUV transporting Joshua and 1 assistant. Both cars were to travel in tandem, using a pre-approved route vetted by local law enforcement and Joshua's UK-based security advisors. The path? A safer interstate road that avoided the notoriously unpredictable Lagos-Ibadan expressway. But that's not what happened. Instead, Joshua left the hotel 40 minutes earlier than scheduled, and only 1 car departed with him. That alone raises serious red flags. Where was the security vehicle? Why wasn't the second car following? And most importantly, who made the decision to change the departure time and route? The man who might have that answer is Akeem Dairo, a local fixer. Not officially on Joshua's payroll, but used in the past for travel logistics in Nigeria. Think of him as a go-between. He books drivers, routes, and occasionally handles low-key security tasks when Joshua visits. Now, Akeem claims he got a phone call that morning. A British number. Someone identifying themselves as Mr. Brown, claiming to be a senior member of Joshua's UK team. According to Akeem, Mr. Brown told him the following. Change the route. Too many eyes on the original path. Take the expressway. Keep it low profile. Akeem says he confirmed the new plan with the Lexus driver directly. But here's the problem. There is no Mr. Brown listed in Joshua's UK team. Not in any formal capacity. Not in any subcontracted security firm. No one knows who that voice belonged to. Even more suspicious? Akeem deleted the call log shortly after the crash. Claimed it was instinct. That doesn't sound like instinct. That sounds like panic. Investigators traced the call. They found the number was registered to a business phone leased by a London-based holding company. That company? A shell. No physical address. No employees. No tax filings. Just a ghost firm, likely used to mask the identity of whoever made the call. But let's not get lost in the paperwork. The point is simple. Someone gave a fake identity and changed Anthony Joshua's route. And Akeem obeyed. Now, should Akeem have verified the request? Absolutely. Should the driver have waited for official clearance? Yes. But here's what makes this so complicated. That morning, both Akeem and the driver received follow-up messages confirming the change. Via Signal, an encrypted app, the message read, "This change is from AJ's topside. Move fast. Trust only in-car comms." Topside, that's a term used in high-security circles. It implies executive clearance, the highest level of authority. So naturally, Akeem and the driver complied. They believed they were protecting Joshua, but in doing so, they isolated him. They removed the second vehicle. They deviated from police-cleared roads. And they drove him straight into what would become a crash zone. Or a trap. Let's look at the route itself. Google Maps data pulled from the Lexus SUV's built-in tracker revealed the following. 10:53 a.m. Vehicle left hotel, made southbound turn. 10:56 a.m. bypassed original intersection, route deviation number 1. 10:58 a.m., entered Lagos Ibadan Expressway via the Magung access point. 11:04 a.m., reduced speed briefly after overtaking two slow-moving trucks. 11:05 a.m., collision occurs with stationary vehicle parked off the emergency lane. Here's what's disturbing. The truck they hit? It wasn't even on the main lane. It was parked off the road, just far enough to suggest it had broken down, but close enough that if another vehicle drifted slightly, it would cause a full impact crash. And that's exactly what happened. The Lexus veered just enough for the impact to be catastrophic. Coincidence? Let's examine further. The original planned route was 11.3 miles longer, but far less crowded. That day, traffic reports showed expressway, high-density volume, erratic lane switching, and stalled vehicles. Original route, medium flow, no incidents reported. So again, we ask, why send Joshua onto the expressway at peak hour? A route his own team had already flagged as unreliable just 48 hours prior? It makes no sense. Unless that's exactly what was supposed to happen. Then there's this. The Lexus's driver claims he received an audio message during the drive. Not a call. A voice note. He played it once, then deleted it. But he told police it said, "If you see anything suspicious, don't slow down. Trust the route. Don't stop for anyone." Strange, right? Especially considering they did crash into a vehicle that should never have been parked there. But there's something even darker hiding here. That message? It had an accent. Nigerian English, with traces of South London. Sound familiar? That's exactly how Anthony Joshua speaks. So was it his voice? Was it manipulated audio? Was someone using a voice clone to guide the driver? Authorities are investigating that very possibility. Because now we're not just talking about route tampering. We're talking about digital impersonation. And if that's true, then this wasn't just a crash. It was a surgically planned event. A modern ambush, masked as coincidence. Here's the final gut punch. The crash site? It wasn't random. It was exactly 2.7 kilometers from a security checkpoint, one that was closed that day due to routine maintenance. Coincidence again? Or was the checkpoint disabled to ensure no police would be nearby when the crash occurred? Either way, it gave whoever planned this a narrow window. One route, one vehicle, no backup, no law enforcement, and a strategically parked truck waiting at the end. What do you think? Still believe it was an accident? Because more and more investigators don't. But the most haunting detail is what came after the crash. When the smoke had cleared, when the sirens started wailing, when Anthony Joshua, shirtless and dazed, was pulled from the wreckage. A bystander captured a moment on video. Joshua looked at his driver and muttered something. Just 2 words. Barely audible, but captured nonetheless. They knew. Who was they? The people who changed the route? The ones who sent the messages? Or the ones who made sure he never saw them? Because in the next chapter, we unravel the twisted mystery of the SUV's black box and discover just how much someone knew about where, when, and how that crash would happen. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. How does a car that's supposed to protect you become the very weapon that almost ends your life? That's the question investigators couldn't shake. Because this wasn't a rusty pickup truck or an overloaded commuter van. This was a Lexus LX 570, an armored SUV. A machine built to withstand impact. A vehicle you put your trust in when you want to disappear from threats, not drive into one. So why did this luxury beast, designed for high-performance control, suddenly fail? Why did it veer at the wrong moment, at the wrong angle, toward a truck that should never have been there? And why, when experts pulled the vehicle's black box data, did they find something that made their stomachs drop? Let's dissect it. Because this chapter isn't just about a crash. It's about what happens when technology, trust, and human error mix, and someone's life is on the line. Let's start with the basics. The Lexus LX 570 is more than just a fancy ride. It's a fortress on wheels. Built with a reinforced body structure, advanced traction control, lane assist sensors, collision avoidance tech, and yes, a black box. That black box, much like those found in aircraft, records, acceleration and deceleration, steering inputs, brake response time, seatbelt engagement, audio from inside the cabin, and GPS logs accurate down to the second. Now get this. When crash forensics pulled the final 90 seconds of data, they discovered a sudden acceleration spike just 3.7 seconds before impact. Let's repeat that. Sudden acceleration spike. Not braking, not swerving away, accelerating straight into the back of a stationary truck. Why? Let's rewind those final moments, frame by frame. 10:59 a.m. The SUV is cruising at a stable 85 kilometers per hour, slightly above the speed limit, but nothing extreme. 11:03 a.m. Driver overtakes two vehicles. Black box records normal lane change. Steering is steady. 11:04 and 15 seconds a.m. A beep. Lane departure warning. Likely triggered by proximity to the shoulder. 11:04 and 22 seconds a.m. Truck comes into view. Still parked. No hazard lights. 11:04 and 27 seconds a.m. Driver lifts foot off accelerator. No braking yet. 11:04 and 29 seconds a.m. Vehicle surges forward. Speed jumps from 83 to 98 kilometers per hour. 11:04 and 30 seconds a.m. Horn sounds. One long blast. 11:04 and 31 seconds a.m. Steering input. Sharp right. 11:04 and 32 seconds a.m. Left front corner slams into rear of stationary truck. The car doesn't just collide. It lunges, like it was forced or triggered. The obvious explanation? Driver panic. Hit the wrong pedal. Lost control. But is that what really happened? Let's talk about the driver, Musa A. We're protecting his identity here, but here's what we've gathered. Musa has over 11 years of experience driving private clients. No prior road incidents. Multiple certifications in defensive driving. In his statement, Musa swore that he tried to brake. Said he felt the car wasn't responding. Claimed he pressed the pedal, but it kept going. Investigators initially thought this was nonsense, until they ran a diagnostic report on the SUV's internal systems, and found this. At the time of the crash, the vehicle's traction control system had been manually disabled. You read that right. Disabled. Someone turned off the very feature designed to stabilize the car during emergencies. That can't happen on its own. It's not a bug. It's not something a valet accidentally does. It requires access to the onboard control panel. And it has to be done intentionally, by someone who knows what they're doing. So, who turned it off? And why wasn't it caught during the morning check? Now here's where things get even darker. Investigators retrieved audio data from the vehicle's cabin in the final 5 minutes. It's grainy, but clear enough to catch this. 10:58 a.m., driver voice. We're moving earlier, right? 10:58 a.m., unidentified male voice. Yeah, got the message from Brown. Route change confirmed. 10:59 a.m., Joshua. Did the other car get it too? 10:59 a.m., male voice. They'll catch up. They never did. But who was the unidentified male? Joshua's assistant? One of the two unconfirmed passengers? Because here's another twist. There was supposedly a fifth person in that car. Eyewitnesses reported seeing 5 individuals exit the hotel together. But only 4 were accounted for post-crash. And this voice? Never came forward. Never reported injuries. Never spoke to police. Let's go back to the crash angle. If Musa says he tried to brake, and the black box says he accelerated, what gives? Here's one theory gaining traction. Remote acceleration override. It's rare. It's sophisticated. But it's possible. Modern luxury cars, especially those with smart dashboards, can be compromised through aftermarket hardware. All it takes is a small dongle installed in the OBD port. That's the data port under the steering wheel, and a signal from a nearby device. That means someone nearby, within 15 to 30 feet, could manipulate the car's functions in real time. Want it to accelerate? Done. Want it to disable braking? Possible. Now, guess what investigators found lodged behind the dashboard? A third-party diagnostic dongle, not authorized by Lexus. It wasn't part of the standard system. It had no logo. It wasn't part of any company record. And it should not have been there. It had one job. Listen, intercept, control. This changes everything. Because now we're not just talking about human error. We're talking about premeditated tampering. Sabotage. This means someone had access to the SUV before it left the lot. Someone installed a control device. Someone used it to override the car's behavior. The evidence is pointing in one direction. This wasn't a random crash. This was engineered, calculated, controlled. And here's the most terrifying part. The crash didn't kill Anthony Joshua, but it almost did. So was that the goal? To harm, but not end him? Was it a warning? A message? Because when someone uses a car like a weapon, but pulls back at the last moment, they're trying to tell you something. You're not untouchable. And for someone like Joshua, that message cuts deep. Let's take a step back and ask the big question. Why him? Why Anthony Joshua? He's not political. He's not scandal-ridden. He's not controversial. But he is powerful. Loved in Nigeria. Respected in the UK. Trusted by millions. And according to sources, he was preparing to invest millions into a Lagos-based initiative focused on youth empowerment and crime prevention. That's not just charity. That's influence. And influence? That makes you a target. Especially in a place where politics, money, and territorial control blur into one bloody chessboard. Could someone have seen Joshua's presence as a threat? Was he stepping on the wrong toes? Or worse, was he about to expose something? Because if this was a message, it worked. He's gone silent. His team has locked down all interviews. His social media? Quiet. And his return to London? Done privately, with no press. Like a man who got the message. Loud and clear. But remember, the SUV isn't the only silent witness. There's still one element of the crash investigators haven't publicly released. The recovered tire marks. Skid analysis shows two distinct braking patterns, but one of them doesn't match the Lexus. The angle, the depth, the weight. It suggests a second vehicle, tailing them at close range, swerved at the last second, avoided the crash, and vanished. Was it a chaser? A controller? Or just another pawn in a larger game? Because in the next chapter, we dive into the dashcam footage. The one piece of video that nearly disappeared. The footage that shows what was behind them, seconds before the impact. And what we see in those frames. It'll leave you speechless. But what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, how many lives is a few seconds of missing footage worth? That's what one investigator muttered under his breath the moment they reviewed the dashcam from Anthony Joshua's SUV. Because what they saw, or rather, what they didn't, sent a ripple through the entire investigation team. The dashcam was supposed to be the cleanest piece of evidence. Objective, unflinching, neutral. But instead, it became the most manipulated part of this mystery. And once you hear what was almost deleted forever, you'll understand why. Let's begin with what was expected. The Lexus LX 570, especially one customized for a high-profile client like Joshua, came equipped with a multi-lens dashcam system. Front-facing lens for external road view. Rear-facing lens to record tailing vehicles. Interior cam to monitor cabin activity. Everything time-stamped. Everything encrypted. At least, that was the idea. But when the team retrieved the memory unit from the wreckage and began playback, they noticed a gap. 38 seconds. Erased. Right before the moment of impact. 38 seconds missing from a digital recording system that had been running flawlessly for over 2 hours. Let that sink in. The exact window of time between the Lexus approaching the bend, where the truck was parked, and the actual collision? Gone. Corrupted. As if someone reached in and deleted the truth. But here's the twist. They didn't delete everything. They missed something. A backup. You see, high-end security dashcams don't just store video to a single chip. They run looped micro-recordings that often back up to a shadow cache for syncing with cloud storage or secondary SD cards. That backup? Still intact. And what it revealed will leave you with chills. Let's piece it together. Timestamp, 11:03 and 11 seconds AM. The SUV is approaching a bend. The expressway is moderately busy. But behind them, tailing at an unervingly close distance, is a white Honda CR-V. Unmarked. Clean. At first glance, nothing suspicious. But look closer. The license plate? Illegible. Blurred by what appeared to be plastic film. A trick commonly used by surveillance vehicles to prevent plate recognition by traffic cameras. Now here's the part that made everyone go still. 11:03 and 14 seconds AM. The Honda veers slightly left, almost out of frame, then swings back into view. Its front grille nearly kissing the Lexus's rear bumper. Too close. Unprofessionally close. Like someone was trying to intimidate the driver or force an error. Joshua can be heard in the background. Is that car still behind us? The driver replies, "Yeah, been there since the turnoff." Then, 11:03 and 28 seconds a.m. The Lexus slows slightly as it approaches the parked truck. The Honda CR-V suddenly pulls to the far right, out of frame, and then disappears, vanished, gone from all angles. Within 2 seconds, 11:03 and 30 seconds a.m., the Lexus surges forward. Impact occurs. Everything cuts. Let's pause for a second. Think about this like a chessboard. Joshua's SUV is the king. The Honda? A knight or bishop, always circling, applying pressure, never quite revealing its role until the last move. Could the Honda have been signaling the crash? Could it have been the final trigger, the final nudge to push the Lexus into acceleration, either through psychological pressure or digital manipulation? Investigators now believe it's highly likely, because the next piece of the puzzle makes this even murkier. After the footage was stabilized and enhanced, something blinked on the screen. A reflection, caught for a split second in the Lexus's side mirror. It was the glint of a device, held up inside the Honda's front passenger window, like a phone or a remote. Zoomed in, frame by frame, the analysis revealed the shape of a handheld control module. Compact, boxy, LED display glowing faintly. Security tech experts confirmed the outline matched several vehicle override devices used by elite law enforcement and military operatives to intercept vehicle controls from a distance. But in the wrong hands, it's a weapon, a remote control accelerator, a mobile brake killer, an invisible finger that can send a car hurtling into a crash zone with a single press. That reflection, only visible for 0.8 seconds. If it hadn't been caught in the mirror angle, it would have been missed entirely. But that 0.8-second flicker may be the most damning frame in this entire investigation. Now let's rewind. How did the CR-V get there in the first place? Footage from hotel CCTV, what little wasn't accidentally deleted, shows the white Honda parked across the street from the lobby at 9:50 a.m., almost an hour before Joshua left the hotel. Engine off. Driver inside. No movement. Waiting, like a hunter stalking prey. Hotel staff confirmed the car was not registered on their guest or visitor logs. And get this, when investigators tried to trace the license plate through the Nigerian DMV, they hit a wall. The plate belonged to a different vehicle, a delivery van listed as decommissioned over 6 months ago. Fake plates, untraceable driver, timing too precise to be coincidental. This was a ghost car, and it wasn't there by accident. But let's return to the dashcam, because the rear-facing footage, now recovered from the shadow cache, tells a second story. 11:02 and 41 seconds a.m. The Lexus passes a small billboard on the expressway. Behind them, the CR-V is still following. But between the two vehicles, for less than 2 seconds, a motorbike slips into view. Black helmet, black jacket, nothing identifiable. But here's the strange part. The bike slows to match the CR-V's speed. Then, extends a metal antenna from its side. What for? Theories range from signal jamming to disrupt vehicle comms, short-range transmission to the override device, surveillance coordination. Whatever it was, by the time the bike exited frame, GPS data from the Lexus glitched. Its position on the tracking log froze for 5.7 seconds, just long enough to hide its precise location during the crash. Meaning, there was an unregistered car shadowing the SUV, a motorcycle possibly coordinating signals, a mysterious device spotted inside the car, and a 38-second data wipe right before impact. How many red flags do you need before it stops looking like coincidence? Now here's the emotional gut punch. Once the footage was enhanced and reviewed frame by frame, Anthony Joshua himself was invited to watch. Not all of it, just the key clips. According to one investigator in the room, when Joshua saw the reflection of the control device, he whispered, "That's the same shape. From Dubai? I've seen that before." Wait, what? From Dubai? Sources close to Joshua later confirmed he had once canceled a deal involving a controversial security firm operating in the UAE. That firm, known for its advanced crowd control and vehicular response devices. Was this related? Was someone from his past sending a message? Was this personal? We don't have that answer yet. But Joshua's reaction wasn't theatrical. It was quiet, focused, like someone who just connected the dots Too late. There's one last detail from the dashcam debrief you need to know. During the crash, the vehicle's internal audio caught a chilling sound. A second horn. Not the Lexus. A different tone. Softer. Shorter. The horn of a Honda CR-V. Pressed 0.4 seconds before impact. Like a signal. Or a goodbye. Investigators believe it was a deliberate cue the moment the crash was confirmed. Then the CR-V vanished. Never seen again. This wasn't just a car crash. It was a choreographed takedown. A digital ambush. And the dash cam, the one witness no one could bribe or threaten, nearly got silenced. But it survived. Just enough to tell the story. Just enough to point a finger at the shadows. And in the next chapter, we leave the cameras behind and follow the footprints. Because what hotel security didn't report, and what they tried to cover up, will rip this case open. One staffer finally broke their silence. And what they admitted changes everything. But what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming. What if the danger wasn't waiting outside the hotel, but already walking its halls? We've followed Anthony Joshua's path from the moment he left his room to the second his SUV smashed into that mysterious truck. But what about the hours before? Before the warnings were sent, before the decoy vehicle appeared, before the crash set the internet ablaze. Because something else was happening while the world slept. Something inside the hotel. And someone was watching. Quietly. Closely. And, according to a staff member who finally broke down, someone was waiting. Let's peel back the polished layers of that hotel and step into the shadows of the surveillance system they tried to hide. Because the camera doesn't lie. Unless someone makes it. We begin with the layout. The hotel in Magung where Joshua stayed wasn't a 5-star luxury suite. But it wasn't a roadside shack either. It was clean, private, mid-range, perfect for a celebrity trying to keep a low profile. Security was decent. CCTV cameras covered every floor, hallways, elevators, stairwells, and exits. According to the manager, footage was automatically saved every 48 hours and couldn't be tampered with without admin access. Sounds good on paper. Until you realize what was missing. Let's be specific. Joshua's room was 407, located at the far end of the 4th floor corridor. Between 2 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., when the mysterious towel request was logged, the hallway camera outside room 407 recorded nothing. Nothing. Not a flicker. The screen was frozen on a frame from 1:58 a.m., a blurry image of an empty hallway. From 2:00 a.m. to 5:30 a.m., the footage glitched. Coincidence? Maybe. But compare that to every other camera on the floor. Room 402, room 405, even the elevator lobby, all recorded fine. Only the feed outside Joshua's room went black. Let that sit. Now imagine you're the investigator staring at the logbook, trying to figure out how the only camera that could have captured suspicious movement conveniently froze during the exact window of time multiple anomalies occurred. And then, imagine one employee steps forward, nervous, shaking, carrying a USB stick, and whispers, "You didn't get the real footage. Here's what really happened." Her name? Rita A., 24, night shift receptionist and part-time IT assistant. Smart, quiet, low-level access. No reason to suspect anything, until she showed up with a hidden backup. Here's what she revealed. 3 weeks earlier, after a celebrity guest complained about security, the hotel installed a mirror feed system, a redundancy that stored footage in a secondary local drive, just in case the cloud system went down. No one else knew it still existed. Even management forgot it was active. But Rita didn't. She checked it out of curiosity after the crash. What she found? Terrifying. Because the hallway camera didn't just freeze. It recorded everything. And what it captured between 4:36 a.m. and 5:18 a.m. changes the story completely. Let's walk through it. 4:36 a.m. A man in a gray hoodie steps out of the stairwell. He walks down the hallway slowly, hands in pockets, face obscured. 4:37 a.m. He stops at room 407. Knocks. Lightly. No answer. He leans into the door. Appears to whisper. No response. He looks around. Then reaches into his jacket and pulls out a keycard. Yes. A functioning, magnetic keycard. He swipes. Red light. Swipes again. Red light. He steps back. Waits. 4:41 a.m. Another figure appears from the stairwell. This one taller, slimmer, wearing all black. They nod. No words exchanged. Second figure pulls a tablet from his backpack, taps on the screen, holds it close to the door, possibly using a signal interceptor or trying to spoof the lock's frequency. Doesn't work. They whisper, get agitated. Then, 4:43 a.m., one of them heads back toward the stairwell, phone to ear. A few minutes later, a towel request is made to room 407. The distraction tactic. Exactly as hotel logs confirmed. While staff were preoccupied, the two men returned. 4:50 a.m., one appears to press something against the lock. A glimmer. Investigators suspect it could have been a magstripe bypass device, a small tool that tricks hotel card readers into unlocking temporarily. It fails. At that moment, the interior light under Joshua's door flickers. Movement. Possibly him waking up. The men freeze. One mouths something. They turn and vanish down the stairwell, gone before housekeeping arrived. Let's pause. That footage, buried, hidden, almost deleted, confirms two terrifying things. Unauthorized individuals attempted to access Anthony Joshua's room. They were equipped with devices meant to breach electronic locks. They weren't random hotel guests. They weren't fans. They were targeted operatives, using calculated moves and decoy distractions. What were they after? Joshua's devices? His itinerary? Or something more sinister? If they had gotten in, what would have happened? Would they have sabotaged his phone? Injected spyware? Or worse, physically harmed him? Rita, the hotel employee, told police. They didn't seem like robbers. They weren't trying to be quiet. They wanted in. They looked like they expected the door to open. And that detail, the expectation, suggests someone on the inside may have tried to program a card and failed, but not before the entire system caught their faces. Two men, unknown identities. Images now in Interpol's hands. But there's one more thing. The elevator logs. Rita provided a separate file, a time-stamped access chart of all card swipes and floor selections. It shows a master key card was used to activate access to the fourth floor at 3:27 a.m., well before the towel incident. And that master key? Only 4 people had access. The hotel manager, the head of housekeeping, one maintenance supervisor, and an external IT contractor hired for security updates. Guess who wasn't supposed to be working that night? The IT contractor. Name, Umar G. Contracted 6 months earlier. Worked 2 shifts. Then disappeared. Contact details. Fake. Phone disconnected. Bank account. Closed 1 week before the crash. Authorities now believe Umar never existed. He was a front. A ghost hire used to plant access systems. To watch. To wait. And maybe, just maybe, to pave the way for what would happen that morning. So now let's recap what we have from inside the hotel. A mirrored feed reveals attempted access to Joshua's room. Footage nearly wiped, intentionally. A front-facing IT contractor created backdoor access. 2 unidentified men arrived with tools. A towel request was used as cover. And internal systems show the use of a master override card. This wasn't random. This was coordinated intrusion. So ask yourself, what were they hoping to achieve in that room? Disable his phone? Wipe the warning messages? Plant something? Or simply scare him into moving faster, to make him leave early, alone, vulnerable, isolated? Because remember, he left 40 minutes ahead of schedule. No backup convoy, no visible security, just him and a vehicle that was never meant to go the original route. Someone set that in motion, and the more you look, the clearer it becomes. That hotel? It was the first crime scene. The crash? Just the second act. And in the next chapter, we finally track down the one figure that seems to have vanished entirely. The 5th man in the car. Because he existed. He was real. And what he left behind in the wrecked SUV tells a story no one was ready for. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. If 5 people got into the car, why did only 4 show up in the hospital logs? That's the question that shattered the neat, official version of events. Because every account, from the hotel bellhop to the grainy footage from the front entrance, agreed. 5 people entered the dark blue Lexus SUV that morning with Anthony Joshua. But after the wreck, only 4 were accounted for. Joshua, the driver, a logistics assistant, and a member of his Nigerian liaison team. The 5th seat? Empty. No ID. No name. No mention in the initial crash report. Gone. Like a ghost. Or a plant. Or worse, someone who was never supposed to be found. Let's dig into the disappearance of this phantom passenger and uncover what he left behind. Because once you see the clues, you'll understand why investigators now believe this entire event may have hinged on that one man. And what was found stuffed into the seat back in front of him. That changed everything. Let's start with the footage. Security cameras at the hotel entrance, timestamp 10:49 a.m., clearly show Anthony Joshua stepping out in a black t-shirt, carrying a small duffel bag. Closed behind him. For men. One of them opens the Lexus's rear left door. Another circles around to the far side. Two climb into the back with Joshua. Driver up front. And the fifth man? He doesn't rush. He waits. Looks over his shoulder. Almost like he's scanning.